Before we dive into things like bringing down digital thieves, let's get some of the terminology out of the way. We'll be using these terms throughout the entire course, so you should know them inside and out before we get started. The first one is risk, the possibility of suffering a loss in the event of an attack on the system. Let's say that you buy a new phone. One security measure you can take to protect your device is to set up a screen lock using a password or pattern that you add to prevent others from accessing your info. A screen lock is a security feature that helps prevent unwanted access by creating an action you have to do to gain entry. If you choose not to add a screen lock to your phone, the risk that you take is that someone could easily gain access to your phone and steal your data. Even adding something as simple as a passcode or a screen lock can help you protect your personal or company data from getting into the wrong hands. Next up is the term vulnerability, a flaw in the system that could be exploited to compromise the system. Vulnerabilities can be holes that you may or may not be aware of. Maybe you go away for a long vacation and lock every door and window in your house before you leave, but you forget to lock the bathroom window. That bathroom window is now a vulnerability that burglars can use to break into your house. Another example is when you're writing a web app and enable a debug account for testing during development, but forget to disable it before launching the app. You now have a vulnerability in your app that an attacker can potentially discover. There's a special type of vulnerability called a zero-day vulnerability, or zero-day for short, which is a vulnerability that is not known to the software developer or vendor, but is known to an attacker. The name refers to the amount of time the software vendor has had to react to and to fix the vulnerability, 0 days. Another key term is exploit, software that is used to take advantage of a security bug or vulnerability. Attackers will write up exploits for vulnerabilities they find in software to cause harm to the system. Let's say an attacker discovers a 0-day vulnerability. She decides to take advantage of the previously unknown bug and writes a 0-day exploit code. That code will specifically target and take advantage of this unknown bug to gain access and cause damage to systems. Not cool. The next term to know is threat, the possibility of danger that could exploit a vulnerability. Threats are just possible attackers, sort of like burglars. Not all burglars will attempt to break into your home to steal your most prized possessions, but they could, and so they're considered threats. Next up, hacker. A hacker in the security world is someone who attempts to break into or exploit a system. Most of us associate hackers with malicious figures, but there are actually two common types of hackers. You have black hat hackers, who try to get into systems to do something malicious. There are also white hat hackers who attempt to find weaknesses in a system, but also alert the owners of those systems so that they can fix it before someone else does something malicious. While there are other types of hackers, these are the two main ones and the most important for us to understand right now. The last term to know is attack, which is an actual attempt at causing harm to a system. It's super important to be aware of possible threats and vulnerabilities to your system so that you can better prepare for them. The sad reality is that there will always be attacks on your system, but before you start searching for an underground bunker to spend the rest of your days in, remember that there are ways that you can detect and mitigate attacks, and we're here to help you learn how to do just that. In this module, we'll be talking about some of the common attacks you'll encounter at home and in the workplace. Throughout the course, you'll learn how to harden your systems against these attacks. Turns out there are hundreds of ways that your system can be attacked, but there are also hundreds of ways that you can prevent them. We won't talk about all of them, but we will cover the major ones. So abandon the bunker idea and prepare to dive in, because things are about to get real secure.